We examine Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's highly contested and contentious court case this year. They say there is a step from love to rejection, but in this case we should say it was all a race of controversial behaviors that had nothing to do with love. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard romance, which had already come to a close in 2020, received a second chapter in 2022. The actor returned to take Amber to court in Virginia's Fairfax County after deciding to clear his name and downplay the most outrageous claims made by his ex-wife, attempting to repair their reputation in their home country this time. And in this instance, the polder that they concealed after their marriage formed a whirlwind that reached every corner of the globe. The case, in which Amber was the defendant accused of defamation for declaring herself the victim of domestic violence, was transformed into a television production in which both parties shed their star power to reveal their worst roles to date. Nothing was left in the tintero. Detailed accounts of fights and altercations, the worst episodes of his childhood, and upsetting conversations from his past in public, even the most private aspects of a life together that wasn't as idyllic as it seemed. They were discussed in depth before the judge. The titulars increased in number. "I never reached the point of beating Lady Heard in any way, nor have I ever beaten a woman in my life," he declared. "I struggle to find the words to express how painful this is. It's terrible for me to stay here for weeks on end and watch everything," she replied while sobbing. Each person gravitated toward a version of their marriage that was wholly distinct from the viewpoint of the other, creating a split in public opinion that led to an impermissible parallel court proceeding. In a society that is becoming more and more virtual, what matters is how followers of one person or another interpret the facts as they are presented in court. This is in response to the abhorrent episodes that the actress complained about in court. "They mock, amuse, and accost me. Many daily threats of death are made against me by people who want to kill me. Miles since this trial started," assured Aquemens Insider. Over the course of 6 weeks, not only did their words resonate like an echo but also their actions, including the choice of clothing for the involved parties, were measured to the millimeter. According to reports, the actress wanted to make her ex-husband tense by choosing stylistic cues that were similar to his own, whereas the actor's excuses for not looking at her were based on a dramatic promise he made to her in the past after things had already fallen apart. The actor's own attorney reminded Amber of the words her ex-husband said to her after they signed the divorce papers. "He promised he wouldn't look into your eyes ever again." The actors maintained silence as Johnny's most nefarious habits, the harsh words he dedicated to himself during their fights, and every type of intimidation that was discussed by millions of people were brought to light. The environment of the expatriate was not immune to this unpleasant process. Both of their sisters, Whitney Henriquez and Christy Dombrowski, were asked to testify, just like friends or coworkers. The ex-girlfriends of Depp resurfaced on stage displaying their impression of the manipulative personality, which once more faced the rumors about their past. "Una de las novias más conocidas, la modelo Kate Moss, respondió a los comentarios que se hicieron throughout su relación by reiterating what was said at the time, nunca me impuyó, ni me petado, ni me ha tirado por ninguna escalera." However, Ellen Barkin did question several of the interviewees' actions throughout the process, testimonies that led to new customs and confusion. The judge kept making even their attorneys into protagonists despite the two of them attempting to have the other's claims discounted. The abilities of the letrados during the interrogations were another topic of discussion and analysis among the supporters. They organized a chorus of singers and cries from the juzgados outside the doors, as is the case with the Red Alfombras, which have been turned into a demonstration of the polarization that surrounded this process. The Law and Crime Network's broadcast on the day of the sentencing lasted 9 hours, and was viewed by 23 million people, exceeding even the Oscar 2022 audience in terms of viewership, numbers to which it is necessary to include those who amassed a few videos that were posted on other platforms after the resolution and reached between 500,000 and 3 million views. When it is said that the case spread around the world, it is not a light statement because reports on the case came from far-flung places like Indonesia, Mongolia, Nigeria, Mauritania, Yemen, Uganda, Papua New Guinea, the Pacific Islands of Vanuatu, and Uzbekistan, to which the United States and the European Union must naturally be added. The outcome favored Johnny Depp because Amber Heard was ordered to pay roughly €15 million. He wasn't present for the hearing since he had traveled to the UK to join his friend Jeff Beck's concert tour. With a gesture that made it clear how content he was with the victory, he delivered a bag of masa to the other person. Given that his movie roles were still up in the air, the actor turned to music for solace in order to go forward after the process. However, the urge to fight continued because the judge had already recovered the €2 million he had assessed as punishment for discrediting Amber through the counsel of his attorneys. She had a same response, obviously in the legal sphere. The actress received the verdict in the room while crying uncontrollably, surrounded by his attorneys, to whom he disengaged to seek out a more guerrilla team. He attempted to rehash the proceedings by arguing a member of the jury had an issue with their identity. As a result, he was denied, which is unfortunate given that he lacks the funds to pay his ex-wife. After a failure, the artist fled to Mallorca with her daughter while using a false identity, perhaps to gain strength. Who knows if this piece is the quiet before the harshest torture, but for now, it is enjoyed in a largely anonymous manner. The transcendence was that what had happened over the previous 6 months had become the subject of a documentary, and, knowing Hollywood, perhaps over time, a movie, Distelo material no falta.